Hey folks, how you doing? Kanal here. I hope everybody's enjoying their Easter Sunday. But guess what time it is? Time to get back to work. Flat day in the markets last week. I was telling my guys, 4-day weeks are notoriously tricky to trade because liquidity dries up, the last couple days of the week, and then what tends to happen is it's just the day traders running around, and that's why you see some of these stocks like CLNT and some of these real turd stocks that haven't really moved in forever, and all of a sudden they just they pop out of nowhere because when there's nothing to do and day traders smell momentum in something, they'll all pile in at once, and that's kind of what we saw the last couple days. But overall the S&P was up. It was flat for the week, and so what I'll be watching for is we haven't come back and tested this 50-day moving average in a long time, right? So we might gap down tomorrow. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I'm interested to see how do we act around this first level of support. There's probably still, my guess would be that there's some sideline money left. People have been waiting for a dip for a long time. I know a lot of smart people I know that are more swing traders have been waiting, to get their toes wet again and add some swing trades. And so, maybe tomorrow will be that time. And so I'm going to be very curious to see, what happens if we gap down tomorrow, and then, how we act around support. Just to buy at the 50-day moving average is not really how we trade. But what that does is when we get to those close levels or key levels, that tells us that we need to examine the price action on a smaller time frame to really see if we might get a reversal. And so I'll be watching to see how the market reacts around that level. In terms of the watch list, there's still a lot of good stocks running around, and we had a great week last week, one of the best that I can remember. So there's still speculative money flowing in the market, and that's the main thing. Even if the indexes dip a little bit or base out, if you see spec money coming in and blowing up some of these turd stocks, then that still tells me that we're on a bull run, because spec money will disappear very quickly, usually if the market's about to roll over. CLNT, I got this on short watch for tomorrow. I'll be watching for, number one, it might wash out in the morning. Who knows? You know what? If this thing opens up at $4 or so, I might play this thing for a long. If we do get a light pop towards 7, I would consider, loading up on the short on this. This stock for years has been, a 20-cent stock. This was more of a day trader push. And so I definitely got this on short watch. It was going red. If the market had stayed open for 10 more minutes, it would have gone red and really flushed. So definitely on short watch, and FEC, all these little ones that got popped up, on watch for bounces. If there's still volume in them, you will be able to play them to the long side and the short side. So, look for big washouts for longs, and then, any type of pop to add shorts. What I do on these type of stocks are you're going to have to contact a few different brokers. So like I have a Ameritrade account, then I have my account at Lake Street Trading, and then a couple other ones. And so you got to kind of find out who's got the shorts, and then when it's time, you can hammer them. And so same thing with heat, right? We had a 20% pop or 20% drop on Friday, and so CLNT, maybe tomorrow does the same thing. Craig, I'll watch for morning washout to possibly go long if there's volume. Otherwise, still short biased on pops. CYBI. It looks like this stock's in a box. If this thing can break over 3, I think it can get its momentum back in this thing. I like the pattern here. I think it's got a little bit more upside to it. It's a pretty clean chart if you take away this big spike over here. We had an earnings breakout the other day. Been consolidating now for 2 more days. Any break over, opening highs over there, I'll add this for a trade. It's a pretty strong stock. Earnings beats 10 to act well in these type of markets, and they'll tend to be followed through. So keep an eye out on this one. TWR, after that huge pop, we've had now a nice 3-day pullback right to support here. Right, and so I'll be looking for any type of, signal on a smaller time frame for a reversal. I think this one probably bounces back up into the 5 area, and then we'll see what happens after that. ZLTQ. This one is bottomed out, I'm pretty sure. Now it's trying to come out of this range, right? And so it looks like what we're going to need is, you know, maybe 620s, you know, something like that to really get this thing going. But this is definitely a bottom bounce formation. And, you know, the 20-day moving average is starting to flatten out. And, you know, any take out of this range, and I'll grab this for a trade. Eunice. We're flagging right here under this 200-day moving average. 425 is my exact, you know, trigger. I guess probably we'd have to buy 426, but if it looks like it's going to break, you know, I'm going to take this one. Zoma, we're flagging here. You know, this could go again sometime this week. Man, this stock's come a long way, so, you know, it'd be nice for it to pull back a little bit, but we're just not getting them. And these type of biotech stocks going into the summer can just run a lot longer than you anticipate. And so what they'll do is, you know, they won't correct via price, but they'll correct via time. And so they'll break, and then they'll flag, then they'll break, then they flag, kind of like what we've been doing. BCEI, so this is an oil company. You know, looks pretty good here. We're kind of just flagging along, and so if I see a pop in oil, you know, this might be a trade that, you know, we take. These IPO breakouts have been working. Arco, this is like the McDonald's of like Paraguay or something like that. You know, I used to trade the stock quite a lot when it first IPO'd, and now it's just been, you know, kind of in a debt spiral for a while. But what we're starting to see here is an attempt at a bottom bounce, bottom booty bounce formation. You know, we're rounding up. The volume pattern is starting to get a little bit more positive, and you can see it's making an attempt to come out of range here. And so it might need a couple more days. You know, ideally I like to kind of see this thing flatten out a little bit, and then when it starts coming out of this range, I hammer it. But it looks like it's done breaking lows, and so now we've got this thing on watch for a long. And, you know, watch out, man. If this thing comes out of the 19 block, 20, here we come. Array, nice look here. It's ready for a breakout. I mean, right about now, my friends. I mean, it looks pretty good to me. I like it right here. Stop under the 20-day moving average. You know, you can put a stop at maybe 695, and I think that this one probably will break. It's looking pretty good right there. Arna, similar to Exoma, it's been trying. I mean, this is a turn. I'm actually very short biased on this stock because I've been trading this stock for years, since I've been really trading. And so I know that this thing will always crash out on me. But it looks like it could be played for a long. I'm short biased on all pops. It seems like it can't break this 326 level, so any pops towards that area, I'm short biased. But if we get above it, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing tests highs. This is not the cleanest of flags. I mean, this is a little bit of a slop tart, but this stock is a turd for sure. CBAC looking good. We've got a nice consolidation here. It's in a little bit of a box between 1 and, you know, 112 or 113. You know, look to see if it can kind of come out of this range. It's sloppy, though. It's a little bit of a slop tart, so there's not an easy way to look at the daily and say I'm going to buy it here. But if you see sector momentum, this daily chart looks good enough where I'd start studying it on smaller time frames, maybe a 10-day, 30-minute chart, and kind of start scoping out when this thing might get the juice again, because it looks pretty good. And then DPTR. You know, I know this company's bankrupt, and it's you know, now it's in OTC land. But look at this. I mean, it looks pretty good here. I mean, we're flagging right there, and we could kind of come out of this zone. You know, we could have a nice break, and then you can see what happens. If we can really cross over 75 cents, we've got this huge gap fill, you know, that could get it going. We had some nice volume here and a big pop, and so we're just consolidating this initial thrust. And typically, when you're coming off a bottom like this, you'll see an upside break after this first initial thrust coming out of the bottom formation. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing break 54, tap into 75, maybe fade a little bit, and then break it again. But definitely like this. Got it on watch, and that's it for now. So, you know, trade tight a little bit tomorrow. If we get a big gap down, be careful. Start looking to see how the market's acting on smaller time frames around those key levels. and look for hints of that reversal before you start loading up. Because, we don't know really what's going to happen, right? We haven't had a real pullback in a long time. People could be skittish on could be skittish and just start taking profits right away on all sorts of stuff. And, we could fall a little bit further. My inkling is that the dip gets bought because that's what's been happening for the last few months. And, we'll be right above some good level of support. But that, the market is around just to surprise us sometimes, and so it's hard to make predictions and rationalize anything. Let the price action guide you.